Hi from Bugeye Guy, and this week we're going to have some fun with Bugeye wipers because we got a whole row of Bugeyes here. Such a simple little part of the car, and yet they're all broken in different ways. The first thing I want to talk to you about though, and we'll go through some of the aspects of this, is this interface. Now, this is just a little splined wiper cup, and that goes on the splines on this little gearbox. And what I really wanted to mostly cover on this video is that sometimes we see this is an extreme example, where they're not positioned correctly. So if you have to fix that, you're just lifting up on the back. It's just a press on, and it just goes on and off like that. So in this case, we would try to line them up. They look about right there. But here's what I really wanted to cover. You've got to test this, because if you're wrong, you can have disastrous results. So you lift these off the glass, and the reason for that is that sometimes these get grit or they dry out, and you'll see on a lot of these cars, and this doesn't matter whether it's an MGB, MGA, MGTD, whatever it is, or a big Healy Jaguar, all these old British cars, same issue. These will score your glass and ruin the glass in many cases. So you always want them to be up. So in this case, we have we got all kinds of stuff going on, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I want to make sure that you're testing it this way so that when you're done, you can do this, and you can see I'm off one tooth here. I'm going to pull this off, rotate it what I think is one tooth, and now I've got the perfect parking wipers. And I'm going to lift these off again, turn on the key, get the wipers to work, and try to get them to park. Now that's the next issue. They're a little bit off because the parking function is broken. There we go. In that case, I got them where I want them to be. Now we're at a different Bugeye, another one with a wiper issue, surprise. And here's why this matters a whole lot. Let's just say hypothetically, let's just say that you take these off to take off your windshield, repair this gasket. A lot of times these gaskets are corroded, so this is a common occurrence. And let's just say, well, it's off, somebody runs this, and this one doesn't happen to park, and now you think the splines are in the right place. You put them back on because you're done with whatever you were doing. And I'll just do it with one just to approximate. And you run it, and you see what's happening. Now we have the wiper blade, instead of it being on the glass, if it was folded down, here. If it was folded down, what you'd have is this. And now your wiper is, and believe me, this happens. We have seen this happen on multiple occasions. If your wipers are parking, it may not be as difficult to do, but I've seen people do this. So what you want to do, I'll show you in yet another way. You want to make sure that you know exactly how your wipers are oriented. So right now, I'm going to turn it off when it stops right there. And this, I'm going to draw with the Sharpie, is my angle. You should be able to see that. And now when the motor moves, you see how it stops right there, it stops right here. That's the throw of the little gearbox. So when I turn it off, this one doesn't park. But I'm gonna line it up like so. Now, when I turn it on, it's in the proper orientation because I've checked it. And now I can, with confidence, put it back down on the glass and know that, and again, I'm trying not to run this on dry glass just so I don't scratch the glass. But now I know that I've marked it, and that if someone, my passenger or whomever, turns on the blade, it's not going to scratch the cowl. So that's the first part of this, is that you have all this adjustability in the spline. You now know how to take it off by pulling up the ends, and you can get your blade exactly where it needs to be, okay? And that's really the main point I wanted to deliver in this video. If you don't have your wipers in the right place, if they're not evenly lined up, if you're one tooth off, you just pull it off. And sometimes it's a little easier, I'll show you on this one, it's a little easier sometimes if you do it with 2 fingers, one on each side, so that you can get it on there. And that's how you orient the arms, okay? Part 1, that's what that's about. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Let's come around to the cockpit for part 2. Part 2 is all about this interface, and this is kind of fascinating. In this case, you turn on the wipers. Again, couldn't be more basic. It's just a simple pull switch. And if you look, I turn it off and the blade is here. It's not parking. Now, why is that? Why doesn't it park? So you have to park it by hand. Oh, I got it in the right spot. I turned it off. I've parked the wipers where it would have done it automatically. This is a rebuilt wiper motor, and it happens to be the early type. And this is the parking adjustment. These little 2 nipples should really be oriented in line with this. So it's twisted a little bit, but that's not significant. You would loosen these 4 little bolts and twist this. This is the cover. You twist this inside it. That's how you change the parking location, but you shouldn't have to worry about that. What's actually more common in these, so now you have this wiper motor set up. This thing's basically just going around in a circle, and it's moving this piston, and this piston has a hook on it that engages this cable. That's what we're looking at, is exactly this, but cut away. So the piston's under here, moving in and out for this hole, which is what the cable runs in. The cable actuates these little gearboxes. That's what we're seeing. It just goes all day long. So this is the gearbox. This is what we were playing with our wipers. This is how they engage. Very straightforward. But here's where it gets very wonky and very typical for the era. This probe right here, this finger, is riding on this gold disc, back and forth. Well, not back and forth, round and around and around and around and around. You'll notice there's a red section here, and you can see the track in the gold disc where it's been going around and around on that finger. This one's bent, and that's probably partly why it was taken apart. When you turn off the switch that feeds the power into the back of the motor, you energize this circuit, and then this finger, when it hits this red spot, stops. This takes over and dictates. You've turned off your wipers, but they're still moving. Surprise, surprise. Why is that? Because you've energized this disc and it's feeding power through this finger. When it reaches the red spot, no more power because it's non-conductive. Wipers park. Of course, these things don't always work. The grease gets wrapped around there, covers the whole thing. It gets very confused in a particularly greasy environment, or the probe gets dirty or bent or comes away from the gold disc, and you no longer have the parking function. And as a result, you have what we have in this red car, which is non-parking wipers. So you get to park them by yourself with the switch. And that's probably more than you need to know about parking. Let's go back to the cars and take a look at a couple more, just so you can see how this is something we're dealing with seemingly on a regular basis. This one works pretty well. Uh-oh. There's a new one. It doesn't even shut off. If you turn off the key, it comes on, switches on, switches off. So this is a unique hybrid. This is a car that came to us from an online purchase for sorting, and we'll have to take that wiper motor apart or the switch and see if we can figure out why we are still feeding power. There it goes. It may be that the switch is just wonky or dirty. I was able to get it to shut off there for a second. I think I know what it is. This switch, I need a pin to get this knob off, but I don't have one with me for the purpose of this video. What I believe is happening here is that this switch, this is our problem, is that the quality of the parts is not what we would like. This knob is about 0.5 millimeter too long. When you turn this off, It's only occasionally allowing the switch to shut off. The knob is a separate piece from the stalk. You push it in and this becomes a stop and prevents the switch from shutting off, hence the wipers are staying on. So I don't believe there's an issue with this wiper motor at all. I believe we need to take this knob off, grind down the knob on the belt sander, take off some material, and then this should work fine. But there you have it, a typical wiper issue in the world of Bugeyes. Let's try this one. This is a car called Royal. And this one has yet a different issue. If you look at the speed with which these are moving, or lack of speed, this one is just completely gummed up. The cables are binding more than they should, or the motor is tired and worn out. Some combination of all that. Now, fortunately, let's see if it parks. Yeah, this one parks. So again, switch is off, power's still going. You got to the little red spot, motor stopped. But fortunately on these cars, you're never really using the wipers. It's not a big issue. If you come around here, I'll show you though. Here's another issue. This is either a worn cup or a worn gearbox, but I'm unable to get this on there so that it doesn't just pop off. It's not a positive connection. And we'll want to fix that too so it doesn't fly off. So I'll leave this off. This car will be prepared soon for its new owners in Virginia, and we need to address that. So we're now 3 for 3 with broken wipers. Let's try this one. This is Ed's car from Michigan, and it has a dead battery. We got to move on. We don't know about this one. We'll have to put in a new battery. This is the one that we already looked at. And again, just to review, you got to park this by yourself because right there. The parking function is broken, so you use the switch to do so. This one is Rob's car going back to California. And let's see how we do here. Kind of trembling. Perfect. Good. Whew. At least we got one good one. Bugeye Guy, thank you for watching. Have a great day.